What is Hellworld?
It's like Candyland, but without all the candy.
It's a state of mind. It's Rebel without a clue. Hellworld is the cool Dungeons and Dragons.
Everybody has their own Hellworld.
Hellworld is an imaginary website that we created based on a game that doesn't really exist, except we sort of loosely based it on the mythology of Clive Barker's characters and the previous Hellraiser films up to this point. So the movie starts off with this group of kids who are attending a funeral of one of their friends who apparently got too involved in the website or in the game.
And so they all kind of get disillusioned with the whole thing, but a few years later, you know, there's kind of a Hellraiser role-playing reunion party with lots of naked women and debauchery, and, you know, who's not gonna go to something like that? So they all pile in the car and head back, and when they get into the Hellraiser house,
They're pretty much in hell from then on.
All hell breaks loose once again. And why wouldn't it? It's Hellraiser.
The story was written by Joel Soisson, who wrote a short story called Dark Can't Breathe. That story was then given to Carl Dupre, who wrote the script of Hellworld. When Carl finally delivered the script, he had left out the details of the killing sequences, I think on purpose, because we had to fine-tune them to the locations. So he sort of left it up to me to figure out where each individual character would meet their demise. Kari Payton, who played Derek, had done a movie with Ron Schmidt, our producer, a year before we started production on the movie, and they just happened to have this remaining head mold, a rubber head of Kari, because he was decapitated in the film that they did together as well. So given the budget, we actually wrote the decapitation of Derek by Pinhead, just based on the fact that we had this existing head of Kari Payton.
Here. I'm in the shot now.
That's fine. No, you're good. Good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, let's do this, guys. Okay, hold it dead still. Give me a big hand movement when it hits it. And we're rolling. Hold it still, Gary. And 1, 2, 3, go!
I've only had my head cut off once before, and to me it's, I'm sorry. To me it's always emotional, you know, and
I'm happy to have Kari there with us in Romania. He just brought this comic relief to the movie that I think was much needed and very appreciated.
Very nice.
In the original script, there was no mention of Chelsea having any martial arts training at all. But when Catherine Winnick was cast for the role, and we found out that she had a black belt, a triple black belt, whatever degree she had in black belt, we ended up having to put that in.
Martial arts is my first love. I started training martial arts at the age of 7. I got my first black belt when I was 13.
So we set that up early in the movie with the lecherous partygoer who puts some moves on her, and she flips him around and twists his arm back. And then that was just all the setup for the end of the movie when the host confronts her and Jake, and she gets him out of that jam by roundhousing him and kicking him over.
You know, I think the actual footage of it looks like a double because my hair was in my face. But no, Mom, that's me. I did it.
When we arrived in Romania, Lance Hendrickson was just finishing up another project, and he was leaving like 2 days after we got there. And I met him one night down in a restaurant and introduced myself and told him how much I admired his work. And as soon as I saw him, I thought he would just be perfect for the part of the host, but I had no idea that he would actually even consider doing it. So I immediately got on the phone and sent him the script, and apparently he read it and was excited about it, and ended up essentially turning right back around and came back to Romania. So I was very happy and very fortunate to have Lance Hendrickson step into the role of the host.
Outstanding.
Lance was great because he was you know, a consummate professional, and you felt good when he was around because you know, it's like he steered the ship, you know, for you, and at the same time he's kind of like the crotchety uncle, you know what I mean? He's like, you know, he's like, what the hell are we doing here?
A very important reason why we're able to do these films from the horror aspect is Gary Tunnicliffe. He knows the Hellraiser series inside and out, and it wouldn't be without his talents and his creative input and dedication that we'd get half of what we got and the amount of time and the budget that we had.
Gary was a hoot. I like Gary a lot. He's just so much personality, so much fun. I think he should have his own TV series.
Yes. Can you do some right here, Demo West, just right here?
He makes your worst nightmare come true through makeup. He did a really amazing job.
You know, God gave him a gift, and it was to bloody up the world.
What was that?
Blood. Okay, I'm gonna put vomit on.
Oh yeah, that tastes like that tastes like split pea and Mom's famous chicken noodle.
Yeah, you kind of like that, don't you?
I wish I got a chance to transform and become all zombie-like, and yeah, I didn't get that for this movie. Next one, make it number 9.
Carl's first draft had this creature, this hydrocephalic baby in a jar. It was supposed to get knocked over, and the baby was going to get out and start walking and talking. We ran into a problem because Gary didn't have the resources to be building these babies and puppeteering them all the way over in Romania. Then it became a question of CGI. So the more we looked at it and the more we figured the expense of it, it just didn't feel like it fit in this low-budget movie. So we scrapped the idea just because it would have been cost prohibitive. But along the way, we sort of liked the notion of this whole baby and body parts in jars. So we took some of those rubber artifacts that he had and just stuck them into these jars on the set, and that's essentially what became the specimen lab.
The specimen lab was freaky. It takes a sick mind to come up with the crap they put in that thing. Literally, you know, I think we were behind that day because half the time everybody was just going around, you know, and just looking in those jars.
I had nightmares. For a week straight, I couldn't sleep. These deformed babies were coming out of my...
You know, it's like, who put this together? It's just ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It was disgusting. It was perfect.
We opted to replace the hydrocephalic baby with a Cenobite, and that's how the scene developed in which Mike gets impaled by the hook. I originally wanted that set to be twice the height and twice the distance because I'd always visualized when that hook came down and impaled Mike that it would lift him off his feet and he was going to be swinging back and forth and knocking all those jars, which is why we had so many of them. But it just didn't work out that way. It was built a little bit smaller. It just became a little bit too big of a deal. In the end result, I don't know if we needed to make it any more graphic than it already was.
This is just the beginning.
This is the third film that I've done with Doug Bradley, and my relationship with him now is so much better and easier than it was the first time when I first met him and met him as Pinhead. He's a wonderful actor, but as well as you know him, when he comes out in that Pinhead makeup with the black eyes and the pins in his face and the makeup, you can't see any facial expressions on him. It's really ominous to talk to him. So we do the rehearsals and we'd block it out and we're laughing and joking and talking about how we can make things better. But then once he comes out, he just has this blank stare at you and it's really hard to read him. So whenever he's in the makeup of Pinhead, people just look at him and it's one or two questions and you would just walk away and wait for his answer.
To see anybody with nails jumping out of their heads and eating pizza and drinking Coke and acting like a normal human being when he looks like such a freak. It was hilarious.
That's a piece of pizza in his hand. Makeup artist the world over going, oh no! Short of eating ribs, oh no! Cheesy, greasy pizza.
Cheese and pepperoni and oh.
You know, I stuck a few pins in his head. You know, he's Doug's great. You know what? Doug is Pinhead, you know, and Pinhead is Doug. He's built it into something kind of huge. But then you go to dinner with him and he's telling, you know, ridiculous jokes and, you know, just really having fun with it all. He knows that this is just amazing what this character has done, how it's touched people's lives, you know. The kids all over the world sticking pins in their heads as we speak.
So we started shooting the movie in October and wrapped at the end of December. And we had a very, very dramatic change in the weather.
It wouldn't be right for me to say that the weather was really challenging for me. The weather was really challenging for the poor people who were the extras in this movie, who were sitting out in the cold, and they were actually having to stay in the cold, you know? And you could see the breath coming out, and it's like a -10 degrees or -13.
When we originally started the wardrobe fittings in the middle of September, we never really took into account Chelsea running through the woods, which ended up being at the end of December in sub-zero weather. So what looked great on her in September on stage became very uncomfortable for her and really, really cold for her running through the woods in December. To give Catherine Winnicker due credit, she really handled it like a professional. We tried to make it as convenient as possible for her. We had a trailer set up off to the side, and literally after every take she would get warmed up, run back outside, do a take, run back in.
It was was so cold. It was to a point where my lips would freeze and I couldn't get my words out. Oh my God, I'm gonna kill myself. But it was a challenge and I had fun.
The entire attic sequence where Chelsea goes up and gets locked in was built on stage. We wanted to build it up high so that we could put Adam down below and have Chelsea interact with him. So we had Catherine up above and a couple grips down below, grabbing her arms and yanking her down and pulling her down 5 feet below. Adam, beg Adam, let me go.
Adam, please, let go. Please, I'm sorry.
And let her go. And cut.
Translate. Sorry.
I remember Rick asked me if I wanted to be pulled or to mimic it, or mimic, somebody pulling my arm. I'm a type of person who, pull me, I want to believe it and not, fake it or indicate it. So I think that helped for me to really have somebody just so I can go in my own head and really truthfully be there.
Rick was great. Rick was great because he was totally about, how can we make this the best Hellraiser we can make it? He was just a really cool guy, always taking suggestions. We were kind of rewriting the script the entire time, and he was just always wanting to get your feedback, always wanting to figure out, how can we, take it up a couple of notches? How can we make it better?
Rick was awesome. He's like a big brother. He's just so much fun, so relaxed, so easygoing. And he has a real good eye. He comes from a cinematography background, so he really can see things and explain things creatively, which I think is an advantage to working with him than some directors who just come from an acting background or nothing at all, just straight directing.
Horror movies are like a roller coaster. They're not gonna necessarily win Oscars and that kind of thing, but they're just a whole lot of fun. People have fun being scared, and they're always gonna be around because, because everybody loves them. I love doing them. They're a blast to do.
I'm a fan of them. I enjoy them. I like them. I get scared sometimes, but I enjoy that rush, the adrenaline rush of being scared and wanting to run out of the theater and hide.
We're just in this boat together having a good time and hoping we scare a couple of people and then they giggle and laugh and go out and get the next one.